This is Artifact 8, Collaboration to Create Learning Experiences. This is for Standard 4.1, ISTE Criterion 12. It hits standard, the standard states, dedicate planning time to collaborate with colleagues to create authentic learning experiences that leverage technology. This is for ISTE 4A. So the goal of this artifact is really to collaborate with colleagues to create an authentic learning experience that with the aid of technology. For this artifact, I chose my iTech 7400 Engage Learning Project. This learning project was titled World War II Reflections. It was collaborated with the Social Studies and ELA standards of 5th grade. The overview or abstract of this project was for students to really just dive in depth about the World War II and its events of the war, also the people of the war. Students will use the National World War II Museum and their digital collections to listen and watch interviews of World War II veterans talk about their experiences. Some of the interviews were of Action Day of D-Day. Some of them were just their reflections and experiences of the war, and some of them were POWs from the war. Students chose a World War II veteran that they would use for their project. This World War II veteran could be from the same race, culture, ethnicity, or background, or it could be any World War II veteran that interests them. During the social studies class, students would participate in a World War II simulation to learn about the different choices soldiers had to make during that time of war. Students would write a historical fiction narrative from the perspective of their World War II veteran as part of their project. Lastly, students would create a presentation using a technology resource of their choice to be able to present to their peers, parents, administrators, and veterans from the American Legion and the VA. So the collaboration for this project, I worked with our ELA teacher and I worked with our social studies teacher to collaborate to bring together this one project. The social studies teacher was to implement the standard of Explain America's Involvement in World War II. So she was going to be doing the instruction part, the simulation part of the project, and really having students learn specifically about World War II, its events, its people, and everything that happened in World War II. During their ELA class, the ELA teacher would work with students to develop a writing narrative of a historical fiction from the perspective of their World War II veteran. They would have to research their veteran from the museum, the National World War II Museum, using the digital downloads and videos of interviews from the World War II veterans. They would research the specific veteran, then they would put together a writing narrative piece that had descriptive details and clear event sequences from the perspective of their World War II veteran. Lastly, I talked with the social studies and ELA teacher about how to create their presentations to demonstrate their mastery of these standards for this project. They were to work on one presentation, but the part of the presentation that dealt with the World War II standard would be done in social studies class, and their writing piece and to be put into their presentation would be done in the ELA class. This demonstrates how I collaborated with colleagues to develop a engaged, authentic learning experience for the students. This is Artifact 8, Collaborative Tools. This is for Standard 4.3, ISTE Criterion 14. The standard states use collaborative tools to expand students' authentic, real-world learning experiences by engaging virtually with expert teams and students locally and globally. The goal for this standard is really to have students use collaborative tools to be able to work together for a learning task. Also, the second part of this goal was to communicate locally and globally with expert teams or other students. One of the collaborative tools that was really used in this project was when students got to collaborate together on their writing piece. During their ELA class, as they were working through the writing process. During the edit and peer review stage, students shared their writing piece through their Google Doc, and students were able to make comments with each other to help peer review and peer edit their writing piece. Another collaborative tool that was used was a Google Meet with the American Legion veterans to be able to collaborate and share with this, for the students to be able to collaborate and share their project. This is Artifact 8, Cultural Competency when Interacting with Stakeholders. This is for Standard 4.4, ISTE Criterion 15. The standard states demonstrate cultural competency when communicating with students, parents, and colleagues, and interact with them as co-collaborators in student learning. This is for ISTE 4D. The goal of this standard is to demonstrate cultural competency and interact with colleagues and students, parents, as co-collaborators in the student's learning. For this artifact, I chose the Engage Learning project, and it was the part for interacting with stakeholders. So the part of the project of their process was to really watch interviews from the National World War II Museum of their digital collections. And during this process, we also discussed with students that if they had relatives that may have served in World War II, that they were welcome to interview them as well for their project versus using the World War II museum with their digital collections of veteran interviews. We wanted to make sure that this was an authentic learning experience, and if they had family members that served in World War II, that it was important to be able to allow them that opportunity to bring in their family, bring in that authentic learning experience for them. As students were choosing their World War II veteran for their project, we encouraged them to use family members as their World War II veteran if they did. But if not, the digital collections of the National World War II Museum had so many different interviews from all different races, ethnic backgrounds, and we wanted students to be able to find someone that they could connect to, that they could relate to based on their culture or their ethnicity that they could use for their project. The last part of interacting with the stakeholders was their final product presentation. Students created a final product presentation to showcase their historical fiction narrative, their video reflections, and their final presentation of their World War II veteran. And we shared this with American Legion veterans. We actually shared this with VA veterans. We added that aspect after implementation because we are here local in Augusta. We have our VA hospital, so we decided to share that with them as well. But we shared all of this through Google Meets, but we also shared it on the teacher website where it would be able to be accessed by the entire community. This is Artifact 8, Authentic Learning Activities with Digital Tools. This is for Standard 5.2, ISTE Criterion 17. The standard states design authentic learning activities that align with content area standards and use digital tools and resources to maximize active, deep learning. The goal for this standard is to design authentic learning opportunities for our students and use digital tools to foster that deep learning. For this artifact, I chose the Engage Learning project from iTech 7400. The authentic learning that took place was we tied 5th grade social studies standards and we looked at World War II. The standard states that they must learn about the events that took place in World War II as well as specific people that had an influence in World War II. For this project, students used the National World War II Museum of their digital collections to find a World War II veteran, watch their interview, take notes and research this veteran, and find out all about this veteran that they could. Students were encouraged to research a veteran of the same race, culture, or ethnicity of themselves. Students were required to do video reflections as they went through the project to showcase their feelings as they went through and to kind of document the entire project. Students were then to write a historical narrative fiction from the perspective of their World War II veteran that they researched. Lastly, they were to create a presentation to share with all stakeholders and veterans. The digital tools that were used for this project were the online resource of the National World War II Museum and their digital collection section with the interviews of the veterans. Students were using Flipgrid to do their video reflections throughout the entire project. For their product presentation, students could choose between Google Slides, Prezi, Canva, and Adobe Spark to be able to create their presentation, sharing their World War II veteran information about them, as well as their historical writing piece. And lastly, the digital tools that we use to share their projects were Google Meet, to be able to have a Google Meet with the veterans at the American Legion as well as the VA, and the Google Teacher site to be able to showcase all of their presentations and writing pieces to be able to share with the community.